Picture this. The stock market is soaring. Real estate prices are breaking records. Everyone around you is making money. And there's an overwhelming sense that nothing can go wrong. People are borrowing more, investing more, and spending more. And for a while, it feels like the party will never end. But hidden beneath this euphoria is a ticking time bomb of fragile system built on optimism, debt, and human psychology. Economists call the inevitable collapse of such bubbles a Minsky moment, named after Hyman Minsky, a brilliant but underappreciated thinker who spent his life studying why financial markets, no matter how stable they seem, always seem to explode eventually. Minsky's insight was deceptively simple. Stability breeds instability. When markets are calm, confidence grows. People start taking risks they wouldn't normally consider. And slowly, over time, the financial system becomes more and more vulnerable. At first, borrowing is cautious. Investors, businesses, and everyday Americans take on manageable debt, confident that they can pay it back because their investments generate real returns. But as prices climb and optimism spreads like wildfire, borrowing becomes bolder, more speculative, and sometimes downright reckless. Banks notice the boom, loosen their lending standards, and create even more credit, fueling the bubble in a self-reinforcing cycle that seems unstoppable. Minsky broke down borrowers into three categories: hedge, speculative, and Ponzi. Hedge borrowers are the safest they can meet their debt obligations from their cash flow. Speculative borrowers are riskier. They need to refinance or roll over their debt because their cash flow isn't enough. But Ponzi borrowers, the real danger, rely entirely on rising asset prices to pay off their existing debt. As the proportion of speculative and Ponzi borrowers grows, the system becomes increasingly fragile, and everyone is living on borrowed time. During the build-up, people start ignoring fundamentals. They look at skyrocketing asset prices, hear success stories of others making millions, and start believing this time is different. But it's never different. History is full of warnings. The 1929 stock market crash, the 1987 Black Monday, the dot-com bubble in 2000, and the housing market collapse in 2008 all followed the same pattern. The bigger the bubble, the more devastating the eventual crash. And it's not just abstract numbers. These collapses affect everyday life. Jobs are lost, savings vanish, homes are foreclosed, and entire communities feel the pain. The terrifying part about a Minsky moment is that it can seem sudden, even though the warning signs have been there for years. A small shock, a bank failure, a spike in interest rates, a sudden loss of confidence can trigger a domino effect that wipes out trillions of dollars in wealth almost overnight. Panic spreads, margin calls hit, and financial institutions that seemed invincible are suddenly vulnerable. And while Wall Street insiders might try to hedge their bets, the average American often bears the brunt, left scrambling to understand what just happened. But understanding Minsky gives us power, even in chaos. By recognizing the early signs: rapidly rising debt levels, over-leveraged institutions, excessive speculative investments, and prices detached from real value, we can start to protect ourselves, and even spot opportunities others miss. Governments and central banks also play a crucial role. Low interest rates, intended to stimulate growth, can unintentionally encourage risk. Regulators, hoping markets are self-correcting, may fail to intervene until it's too late. The dance between policy and human psychology often inflates bubbles to dangerous levels. And while we like to think that crises are anomalies, Minsky argued that they are the natural result of a capitalist system that cycles through periods of optimism and euphoria, followed by panic and collapse. What makes this relevant today is that we can see it happening again in multiple markets. Real estate, tech stocks, crypto, and even consumer debt levels are soaring. Are we approaching another Minsky moment? If we don't pay attention, the answer could very well be yes. But knowledge is power. For individuals, the lessons are practical. Don't understand the risks of speculative investments, diversify your assets, and always focus on fundamentals rather than hype. For policymakers, the takeaway is equally important. Monitor credit growth, enforce sensible regulations, and understand that periods of calm and stability are the very moments when risk accumulates most dangerously. Minsky's brilliance was in connecting human behavior with financial mechanics, showing that markets are not just numbers on a screen, they are reflections of human optimism, greed, fear, and denial. The Minsky moment is more than a concept. It's a story that repeats itself, with minor variations across decades. It's a reminder that while booms feel permanent, they are always temporary, and that the higher the rise, the harder the fall. And here's the kicker. Even though crashes are painful, they are also necessary. They cleanse the system of excess, force correction, and for those who pay attention, create opportunities for growth once stability returns. The key is recognizing the pattern before the collapse, not after. Watching a market soar might feel exhilarating, but when debt, speculation, and Ponzi-style borrowing dominate, caution is your best friend. The Minsky Moment is both a warning and a Gita lens through which to see the fragility of our financial system, a signal that risk is accumulating silently, and a lesson in humility about the limits of human foresight. So, next time you see a market that seems unstoppable, ask yourself, who is borrowing? Who is betting on rising prices? Are fundamentals being ignored? Because the higher the bubble climbs, the more spectacular the crash will be. And history tells us over and over again that bubbles don't last forever. They burst. And when they do, everyone feels it, rich or poor, investor or ordinary citizen. By understanding the Minsky Moment, we not only gain insight into past crises, but also a powerful framework to navigate the uncertain financial landscape of today. We can spot danger, protect our wealth, and maybe even profit from the mistakes of others. After all, financial history isn't just a series of numbers, it's a story of human behavior, psychology, and the delicate balance between optimism and reality. And as long as humans keep investing, borrowing, and speculating, Minsky moments will keep happening. They're inevitable, predictable in pattern, but uncertain in timing. The choice we have is whether it will be ready or whether it will be blindsided, like so many before us. And that's the story behind the term, the lesson it carries, in the warning every American investor, policymaker, and citizen should take to heart. When the bubble bursts, it won't wait for anyone to be prepared. The Minsky Moment is coming, and the question is, will you see it coming before it hits, or will you be caught in the fallout like countless others in history? Understanding this, preparing wisely, and learning from the past isn't optional, it's essential. Because in the world of finance, the higher the climb built on debt, the harder the inevitable crash.